Welcome to the Make and Design Podcast. I'm your host, Carina Gardner. On this podcast, we're unraveling the everyday joys and dilemmas of design, making, and business. For makers who want to be designers and for designers who are makers, this is your inside scoop to help you grow your business and bring more creativity to your life. I'm always trying to talk about topics that are relevant to me right now, things that I'm hearing from my students, things that I'm hearing from my memberships, and this one comes up all the time. One of the things that happens that's so interesting about the design world is part of the reason we get excited to become designers is because we see all of these wonderful designers doing things on social media, on websites, for particular industries, for example, book covers, and we see what they're doing, and it is inspiring. It is awe-inspiring sometimes. We get so excited about what they're creating, what they're doing, and because of that, it makes us want to also do. That's a powerful thing. That's a wonderful thing in our industry that we really get to play off of. We get the ability to see what other people are doing, and then we can model them so that we can create our own design careers. But it also becomes a problem because we're seeing all that glory that many times we don't understand what it took to get there, what's behind it, the talent there or the skill there, and how much money they're actually making. And that little piece right there actually becomes a big fat problem because people will see something that seems really wonderful and glorious and they're like, I need that. I have to have that. They must be making a lot of money. It seems so fun, so cool. Plus they're making money, right? And what looks really cool and what might be fun to do does not always equal what makes money. I feel like I have to say that again because this is one of those things that people associate two things that don't necessarily go together. In the design world, something that's cool and fun to do does not always equal something that makes money. And that is sometimes a really hard lesson that new designers have to learn is that just because something is so fun and so cool and it appears to be something that should make a lot of money doesn't mean it actually does. And so it's really hard until you start digging in and actually designing for yourself and figuring out what makes money, what will actually promote your career, what will actually is the right blend for you in your career mix. Now, I believe in branding. I really believe in branding. And I think you do need to make a brand for yourself, okay? But not at the expense of actually creating a design career. And so because of that, that's why I structured my program the way it is, where we spend a lot of time designing, and we don't go after big brands at the beginning. Because as new designers, we don't do that, right? We don't go from zero to being the most popular designer on Instagram, like immediately. It just doesn't happen. And many times it depends on where your focus is. So for example, if you're really, really interested in branded content with your name on it, okay? So you already maybe even have a style. You are going to work on that style and show all that branded content. If you are okay with not being paid for that branded content for years, a couple of years even, then go for it. Do that, okay? If you're a designer who wants to make money right from the get-go, and I will admit, I'll raise my hand to this, I like to be a designer who's paid, okay? Which is why I don't go after all the big name, glorious stuff right from the get-go. And even now in my career, I think I could go after some bigger things, and I don't because the things that I am doing right now make me enough money that I feel great about it and gives me the freedom and flexibility that I want. Those are the things that are important to me. I've mapped those things out. You know, we talked about goals. We've talked about modeling for kids. You need to be very authentic to who you are. What do you really, really want for yourself as a designer, okay? And at the end of the day, the glory isn't what you think it's going to be. Even when I was the creative director of a sizable scrapbooking company and I was meeting lots of people within the industry. I knew a lot of people. I knew the CEOs of companies, and I worked with a ton of designers. Even then, the glory of what you would think that is, it doesn't exist, you guys. And it takes you actually doing it for you to realize, oh, this is not what you think it's going to be. And it's not, I think I get like a little bit like, not that the wool is over your eyes, but like, if you go into design, and I'm specifically thinking about my Design Suite members, but anybody who's really thinking about going into design, if you are going to spend all of your time thinking about the big brands or even the big online websites, and you think, I'm just going to create one gorgeous, beautiful design a month, and that's what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you that it becomes very, very difficult to get the contracts you would like. Now, not impossible, because there are designers who have done it. But what I have found to be a more effective method is frequency of design. So having a lot of designs in a lot of different places, so when the right opportunities come, they hit you correctly, and you're making the kind of money that you deserve as a designer. I know lots of designers who have big brands, big Instagram feeds that are making a tenth of what I make. Okay? That is not a boast. That's just a perspective thing. I am hoping that what you see is that to be a designer, there were years and years and years there before all the social media stuff where nobody knew the designers. Nobody knew them. We were all working in the background. And I kind of miss those days. There was a real amazing beauty to those days because we could just work, do the design work that we loved, and that's also the other thing that's really interesting, and I see it very often in designers. You can tell which ones are going after the glory, which ones are that want that, like, they want the big name, they want the big contract, but they haven't done, first of all, any of the work underneath to get to it, so it's really difficult for them to get to it, and then they're frustrated when they don't get the big contract. And then second of all, I see opposite of that, the designer who's just like piddling away, who's working really hard every day, making small designs and making small improvements. I choose every day the person who just is working hard every day to become a designer, because that person will have exceptional designs, and when the right opportunities come, they're going to be able to take it and do amazing things with it, versus the person who has the big dream, but they're not looking at any of the things that actually make sense. Now, you guys know I believe in big dreams. I think you should have a big dream, but you have to be looking for all the milestones underneath of it to get where you need to go. And recently, I believe by the time this podcast comes out, let me just look at the date here. Yeah, we've already done my accelerated workshop where I do a debunking of myths, and I talk about some of these things. You guys, it is so important that as a designer, you know your boundaries and what you're actually looking for. Are you looking to create a creative life? Are you looking to build something, a small business for yourself that supports your family? Okay. If those are not your things, if you're like, you know what, I just want to have a big brand name on social media, on Instagram or Facebook, that's great too. Okay. But you have to understand, you have to be okay with not making the money for a long time until you can build up that brand. And it's a longer, harder road. It really is, because you're choosing what I always called the influencer model, not the designer model. And that's okay. It's an okay route. It is definitely not an easier route. And I tend to see people drop off and not become designers, full-fledged designers, because there aren't enough milestones along the way for us to win, for us to feel like we're winning, if that makes sense. So just a couple of words today. I've been thinking about this because I think, so many people even look at what I'm doing and they go, wow, Carina has all the glory. But the truth is, first of all, it doesn't feel like there's much glory. Second of all, I'm here to design. And third of all, I'm here to teach design. I mean, really at the end of the day, the thing that I care about most is designing. I want to design, and I'm going to figure out a way to make money as a designer, no matter what that looks like to me. That is always more important than all of the glory and the brand piece for me, okay? It just is, because I know that is what my skill set is, right? Okay? It's like going and asking I'm trying to think of a doctor to spend all their time branding and doing all the branding stuff when what they need to be doing is seeing patients, right? Like, are you taking care of the design work? Are you meeting with your design students? Like, for me, those are the things that are the most important, right? So if you're going to be in this field, you have to actually do the work. And the brand piece is important because it's awesome, it's really helpful, but it's really third or maybe second on the list of things you should be doing. Unless you are really truly working on that influencer model, which is not a terrible thing, you guys. It's just not the route I find that most designers end up on that's super successful. So hopefully that helps you guys. I just want to give you a little perspective, and I want to make sure you're on the right track. I want to make sure your intentions are real and that your goal is to be a good designer. Because when we are good designers, the contracts come, the money comes, the brand recognition comes, the building up the brand comes. Like, all those things come if we are really focused on being a great designer and making money as a great designer. We'll get the right contracts. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me today. And by the way, I talked a little bit about Accelerated Designer Workshop. If you have a chance, this is a workshop series I am doing for the whole year. It's a 12-month workshop series. It's still not too late for you to get January and February if you buy the All Access Pass. So it's 12 months of workshops, and I am really digging deep into the strategies of design. It's different than boot camp, different from the Illustrator Whiz Workshop series I've been doing. So come check that out at carinagardnercourses.com, and I will see you soon. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.